All right. Well, good morning, Mr. Miliaresis. Thank you for joining me on the 31st episode of One to Come Up, a podcast where aspiring entrepreneurs can learn from the best of the best, those on Forbes 30 under 30. I'm excited to learn about your career and all your initiatives. So let's jump right in.
Yeah, great pleasure to meet you, Danny. And once again, great work with the podcast so far. I can't believe it's already 31. You're doing really great with
Yeah,
this.
I know. I'm really excited. I've been very fortunate that so many people have been coming out and joining me. It's really exciting.
I think you're worth it, so it's a big pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So normally I like to start the podcast focusing on my guest time in college, but it seems to me that you knew kind of before you knew what you wanted to do before you got there. So yeah, how did it was your time in the Boy Scouts, if I'm correct, that led you to volunteering?
Impressed with your research. I think yes, you're right. It's something that I learned from a very young age, how to be, active member of the community and part of the community and be able like to contribute. So I think it was when I was what, 7, 8 years old. Fun fact, I think I went first and I didn't like it at all when my parents took me there. And then 9 months later, I asked by myself if I can go again. And I did that and I stayed. So since I think in the Boy Scouts, I managed to learn all my core values about, working with each other, caring about the neighborhood around us. But it was the organizations afterwards that, saved me even more. So even though I went to elementary, high school, and then university, I think at the same time I had a parallel outside of school education through Boy Scouts, AIESEC, and TEDx, which defined me equally.
Yeah. So yeah, then you had mentioned your time at Athens University, where you studied well economics and business. But you were also involved in some other really cool projects on the side, like ASEC and TEDx. Everybody's kind of interested what goes on behind the scenes at TEDx. We get to see the speakers, but not really what's behind here. So if you could maybe explain also what ISEC is, or if I'm saying that
Yeah,
correct.
of course. So, same as you, similarly to you, like I was 16, I think high school was great. I had amazing professors, but I wanted what else can I do at the same time to develop myself even further. So the second day of the university, I joined AIESEC. A friend of mine has mentioned that. So AIESEC is an organization, I think one of the largest student-run organizations who teach you about leadership, but I think what interests me the most gives you the opportunity to go and work abroad. So when I was 19, I went for 3 months in Taiwan and I was teaching in high school there. English language, basketball, Greek culture, mathematics. My mother is a mathematician, so she was really happy about it. And I think even more important is how not only I learn about another culture like Taiwanese, completely different from the one I grew up, but I had the opportunity to see myself through their eyes because we grow up in a neighborhood and environment in a country, and that's our only point of view. And then you go to another country and you realize that the things that you were taking it for granted, can be completely different. Or, for example, the way they collaborate and they work with each other. So I think at the 19, it was a really big shock, not just being, in the other side of the world, but at the same time, be able to collaborate in a completely different environment and have a more, open mind and perspective.
Yeah, that sounds like a really cool experience. ISAC. I'll have to remember
Yes.
that if I'm older, and we have that here in America.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is. I know it's in many. I know Yale has a really strong AIESEC chapter because there are different cohorts in this university.
yep.
So I went there, I did the internship, I came back, but also gives you, nice leadership role. So I spent the next 3 years be able to, travel in different countries and work in short-term projects or conferences. That's where I first train public speaking, for example, be able to go in different cities around Europe and speak, facilitate, or organize events and meet other people from other countries because I think same with the 31 people who have participated in this podcast. I think that at the end of the day it's about the people you meet, the discussions you have, and how you stay connected afterwards. And I think building this network from an early age, it's one of the really big advantages because even now one of my most recent assignments 15 years later, I could still reach out to the people I met back then to ask them an insight about, their
Ah,
country or their local market.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. But it reminds me actually of a quote that I saw when I was researching you. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second time is right now. I don't know. I saw that in one of
Yeah.
conversations, and I really loved it. Um,
Yeah, it's true.
so I don't know if I'm skipping any time here, but between AIESEC and when you started GloVo, I don't know if there was anything between there that you would like to talk about. But I saw that you and your co-founders created GloVo in 52 hours at a startup competition. So,
Yeah, is that true? So again, amazed by your research. It was a university event, the startup competition. Initially, I was planning to go and to go and volunteer, and the people from the organized come because I always love to be helpful. I always love to be involved. And same as TEDx that we mentioned before, I like to be in the backstage and be able to make things happen. But the people there told me, why don't you actually participate? We're sure you have, a few ideas. And that's when I went on stage and I said, I know that there's so many events and initiatives happening that they cannot find the support they needed. And at the same time, and I think it's important that to mention, Greece back then was facing a huge economical crisis. Like the youth unemployment was over 50%, which means that, one out of two students in the university couldn't find a job after graduating. So at the same time, they were on those, young people who wanted to do something, but they didn't, have the opportunity to join the workforce yet. So I suggested, why, don't we develop a platform in which, from the one side, could have all those, organizations, events, and different aspects, upload what needs they have, and all those people, especially the young ones, join them. So the event started Friday evening. I pitched the idea. I think from the six ideas, they kept only the 10 or 15. And then with the remaining of the people, we had to build a team. I knew a few of the people in the team. The other, half of the team, I met them there for first time. And we had until Sunday evening to develop the prototype, the business plans, the business plan, the branding, and present it to judges. It was extreme. It was so nice. It was so dedicated, fun. And actually, fun fact, we didn't won. We took like the second position, but
oh
gave
wow.
us, enough push and visibility, and partnerships in order, to actually launch the platform immediately afterwards.
Now, do you know, well,
Hmm.
I don't know, it says something like on the side here, who came in first and where they're at now? Because I'm interested that it could have done
Yeah.
better than Globe.
It was a really cool idea. It had to do with, technology, and I think it was about bees. Greece has a big agriculture same in the US, which was really nice on paper and never made it. And even more interesting, I remember the startup who took the fifth position are the ones who are actually doing even better than all of us. They haven't made it the
Oh,
Forbes, but I'm happy to introduce you to them. It was about tourism and how you can use, VR and technology. So it was, fascinating to see. And that's a learning, that sometimes you maybe, it's not about if you, win the award or the funding. It's about how much you believe in the idea and the value you have afterwards. Because my two biggest learnings then was, first of all, as I said, like we were a team of five initially that we didn't really know each other. Only the one of them were in the same actual classes in the university. So for me, the first task was to understand. Uh, yes, we want, GloVo to succeed. We want the startup to succeed, but at the same time, it's important to be aware of the individual goals of your team members. So in the very first day, I asked them, what you really want to achieve out of this. And for example, the one developer was like, I want to exit and become a millionaire. I was like, as a social enterprise, this is difficult to happen. So after one point he stopped, but then the designer was like, I want really to build an amazing portfolio as he did. Now, like he has his own agency and worked really well for him. And even
wow.
more amazing, the other co-founder who was always very proactive, he was, I think, similarly like you, he always looks 2 or 3 years ahead. He was like, I want to do this like for 3 years and then maybe, use it to go to multinational company and then go to the US, like for my MBA, as he did, like he did his MBA at Stanford. So it's important for you as a leader like to be aware to give the right opportunities for your people because the more satisfied personally they are, the more they're giving to the project itself. And the second learning I kept, it was like to go immediately in the market because I'm happy that we had to develop like the platform in 52 hours because sometimes we stay so much, developing and developing and prototyping, and working, in the office. But the moment I think, the first 1 week that you're like you're published, you're out in the market, you learn more things than, 6 months working on your own. So the fact that immediately afterwards we actually, had our first agreement, which was nothing. It was like symbolic for $50 just for us like to test it in the real world. I think it gave us, so much learnings and push, and that's why we start growing immediately and having, even small part of revenue to pay back the first expenses than just, be in the co-working space, and keep working, keep improving details that you could figure out afterwards.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. You do sometimes just have to go for it, even if you're, I guess,
Yeah.
not all the way there, but just to really go for it and see what happens. And sink or swim, and it seems like you really guys swam.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so then you went to the YTILI fellowship,
Mhm.
um, which is an initiative between the United States and leading European entrepreneurs. Can you tell us about this experience? I know you went to
Yes.
Denver and
I can, even though I think, what happened between launching and the utility, because the utility is like a program funded by the US State Department and the Marshall Fund, which started after the Second War. And the idea is every year, 30 entrepreneurs from Europe to spend some time in the US, see the ecosystem here, how they can learn from each other, and then at the same time, people from the US have the opportunity to go in Europe. It's like an exchange program. So for me, and actually it was one of the few times that I had the opportunity to come to the US. Like the first one was with the Clinton Global Initiative University, and then was with the YTILI, and then it was, I think, with the Forbes, or first the Forbes and then YTILI, was like to see, when you're in Greece, you really admire, the startup ecosystem and entrepreneurship here in the US. So it's like to come here and understand how it's possible, the organizations and the companies here to succeed that more. So I was placed in Washington and then in Denver. I had the chance to be with the Chamber of Commerce of Denver and then placed in a specific organization. And what I loved the most was the support you received from the community. Like I could see how much the Chamber of Commerce was really a big advocate, like for the companies of the city, and make the nice connection and build like doors internationally. So what I realized, and now like that people from other countries is not that they're not smart enough as they're like in the United States. It's like that here is the whole ecosystem hoping for their entrepreneurs, especially the young entrepreneurs, to succeed. And at the same time, you're here able to think more, bigger and radical because you're going to have, the support needed if you're really worth it. So for me to come here and see, things working in a much bigger level allowed me to, to not be afraid and be able to think, in thousands and millions instead of just, smaller numbers.
but yeah, oh, excuse me. So it seems I did miss something between GloVo, starting GloVo, and
Yeah.
YTILI. I don't know. I guess my research and my timeline was incomplete there. But
Yeah.
if there's anything I don't know that you learned, or how did you, I guess, initially start GloVo and the first steps there?
So the first step, it was something that someone told me. I think the first month after we launched that the faster I remove myself from the initial idea, the faster it will, succeed and grow. And initially, you think, that's so strange. I had this idea, I want like to succeed. Why to remove myself? But if you think about it, like I could only be in one play. Actually, there are two learnings here. That A, let the rest of the team, save the idea as well and feel it their own because, everyone wants in a way to work something for they have created and no matter how good is the leader, not just follow someone. So GloVo and then Athlon, evolved to something a little bit different than, initially I have pitched it. In the competition, but because more people felt it like it's their own ideas as well, they were giving the 110% of themselves. But at the same time, like for me, it was impossible to be part of every project, every event, every campaign. So, and even though, in my criteria, maybe some things are going to happen at the 90 or 80% and not like in the 100%, of what they could be, you are able, at the same weekend to be in 4 different cities, places, countries, and have things working. So the faster I manage to see that, I don't have to be everywhere and I can trust the people there to do it, at their own level. I think it allowed us to really scale and grow. And then the second part there, our organization had to do, it was a lot about, uh, digital and online and develop the platform and be effective and be massive and, give the opportunity to everyone, no matter where they are, like to participate. But at the same time, it was about, the user experience. And that's where, I think already, if you think about, we're already now speaking about Gen Z, but even there, they were like much younger people joining the platform of how you're going to create something that really represent them. So after one point, we gave the opportunity to the newer volunteers to actually say to the more experienced volunteers to save the experience of the younger volunteers. So for example, back then I was using Facebook and Twitter, but then the new generation was using Snapchat. So, not even though we had only 3 years of difference, but even though for someone who is 25 or someone it was 19, there were already some cultural difference. So give, leadership opportunities to the younger members to save the experience of the new members. So that allowed us to, even though to be, online, to have a lot of, in-person trusted and nice experience that people felt that they belong and they wanted to participate.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. That there's like so much more psychology, I guess, to it behind
Mhm.
than you would imagine, and so much, I guess leadership, things that you would never think about. But I've had some other volunteering organizations on the podcast before, and they've all mentioned like, the public perception of volunteering that not many people do it, so they have to kind of, get that message out there as well. So how was that's something that you also managed?
Yeah, I think we managed let me think about it. Uh, by keep reinventing it. Like, and how can I say that? Like that we didn't like build something in 2012 and we stayed with that, but every year like we were still, letting people recreate it with ourselves. And then we had some ideas that didn't work. For example, to have a more art approach, how so we're going to recruit more artistic volunteers. But at the same, this maybe never happened. And then we had like different type of opportunity that they really, had the people involved. So I think the perception was like how we're gonna make volunteerism cool again. I think that was a media publication I remember like 10 years ago, like Ethelon, the platform that did volunteering cool is by not having us, like the founding team or the full-time team, to have all the solutions. So we were really grounded and really connected with the community and open to different ideas. So one of the things, and I think one of the reasons that Forbes recognizes us was that we could see, for example, people with disabilities, and for the first few years we're going and we're supporting them. But then we realized that those people, yes, they might have a disability, but they're pretty capable, to do everything else despite that
Yeah.
specific disability. So it was like why those people are not volunteering then. So then we create a sub team that work on how can make volunteerism accessible, and those people based on what they can do and not what they can do to actually participate as well. And that was like a huge thing because many of them they were just waking up and were just staying at home, and then there was a community that were giving the opportunity based on their own identity and the things they can do to actually have an active role to the society and not just ignore them or feel sorry about them, but give them an opportunity to participate same as everyone else. And we're not advertising we had like 100 volunteers and then 5 volunteers with disability, but we're saying we have 105 volunteers no matter disability or no disability. So that's an example, and that was an idea of one of our volunteers, like we never thought about it. Also, one other idea that again came from our volunteers was like employee volunteering, because we had so many people that they were joining us at 18, 19, 20 years old. They were volunteering with us, and then they were finding their first job. They were really committed to their, first role, so they were never coming back to volunteer again. And that's how we started working with many companies, especially, the big Fortune 500 ones, to develop employee volunteering programs for them, because that gave the ability to the people who were already volunteering to continue to volunteer. But the thing also, as employers, and actually as new employees, you don't want to join a company just to go and work from, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, and take a salary and go home. But you want to be part of a company that does, more things for you, and they have an active role in the society. So we kept the why, like the core belief, the Simon Sinek, the golden circle, like that we really believe in the power of volunteering. But the how we're going to do that, we were really recreating ourselves and staying fresh. And we never, laid back and said, okay, we achieved that. We have 10,000 volunteers. We're going to keep doing the same things every day.
I like that, but it sounds like you try to make it a lifestyle as well. You try to incorporate it into a company and to try to get into their culture. And but I also really like the fact that so actually the first time I've heard it on the podcast, but you took ideas from everyone, it sounds like,
Yeah.
and you incorporated it, and you saw what was working, what was not working, and you kept it fresh always. And I like that.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
but um, but anyway, so then I guess my next research shows that you now work at Kaizen Entertainment. I guess that's a little bit of a jump from where we just were to now. But yeah, so eventually, but I did see we were acquired by GAFA or GSAP, if I'm not mistaken.
By Higgs, yeah, indeed. So what happened, 2016, GloVo, like the organization we initially started, there was another organization doing something not exactly the same with us, but also working to redefine volunteerism in Greece. And with them, we had like a really good relationship there. Like they had a massive network of non-profits, because they were doing education seminars to them. And we had, many volunteers, and also they were really close with some charitable foundation. So 2016, we sat at the same table and we said, okay, I think the things that the one organization is strong are, the one is the weakness of the other organization, and our weakness is actually what you have strong. So we decided to merge with them. And I think that's the Arabic quote that, if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. If you want to go somewhere far, like go with company. So 2016, we decided and we merged with another nonprofit, which I know in the US it's so common for it to happen. Like I remember with the YTILI, like I went to one of the nonprofit shops and they had like 3 or 4 different books of how to merge the nonprofits. So we rebranded, we named Ethelon, and we were able to do everything you needed around volunteering, about education, placement, new programs, like it was happening with us. So that gave us opportunity to merge with another much more experienced team. We kept the leadership and we continue growing. And we were doing that for around 5 years. And that was the point that as a founder, I was in a dilemma, because I pitched Ethelon when I was 20 years old. I don't think I was 21. It was like I was 20 years old. And I was doing that since ever. So it was a point that we were doing amazingly. Like, we had cash flow not just for 6 months, but for 1 and 2 years. We had already established partnership with so many multinational companies. We had agreed like funding a new program. Like we were in a really good position. And the most important for me, like the team was the smartest team I ever had. Like the people in the office, they were all of them amazing. It's like, I don't know if you follow sports, but when you give you the opportunity to make your all-star roster, for fantasy
Yeah.
football, and you have an amazing credits. I don't know how that year, like, it's like I had like a cheat code and I could select the best player in each position. So it was where I was feeling that me as a founder, if I didn't have this idea at my 20s, what else, I could be, what else I could do. And B, it was a point that, as I said from the very beginning, I always was, passionate to removing myself from the idea. It was a point that, you were searching the name of the organization, and next to the logo, it was always appearing my face because of the interviews, award, the recognition, like, the case study for Greece to have like a successful social enterprises, which I think it was not 100% healthy. So I decided 4 years after the merger, to to move on, like to let the organization continue alone. Because the point is, not to not like most companies, most startups fail either in the beginning or when the founding team, leaves and proceed. So I think we were in the stronger position for it to happen. Like I knew that even if, none of the founding members were there anymore, the team is that good that we'll continue to thrive. So 2019, I make the decision to move, of course, to work like an amazing transition plan for the organization to keep going. And I decide to move permanently to the US. Already we mentioned before that I came with the Clinton Foundation and then with the USA Department and with the Forbes. I was back and forward a lot. So I moved to New York to do my MBA here and see what else I can do. The organization kept doing great. The story is that 2 years afterward, like we have been acquired by another organization, and the platform and everything we have built continues under their name. But for me, my passion was always about social impact. So initially, I joined an institute here in the US, and then Kaizen Gaming, which is one of the Greek unicorns, like in the ecosystem, like they're in gaming already $1 billion valuation. They wanted to build a foundation, a corporate foundation. And that's why I joined the team. And it was nice to be on the other side of the table. Sometimes you miss, the excitement of entrepreneurship and, the unlimited potential, especially when joining a more regulated market. But it's nice to see a company that wants to invest millions, like in social impact, to doing in the most impactful way possible.
Yeah. But I know what you mean. It's always difficult to kind of move from entrepreneurship to now being part of
Mhm.
something much bigger. But you have to look at, I guess, your original mission to help as many people as you can. And I'm sure you're doing that here. So yeah, what is, I kind of did lose the connection a little bit from volunteering to Kaizen Gaming. I know them from some of their video games, like
Mhm.
I forgot, I used to play one when I was younger. But yeah, what is your current role? And I know you kind of mentioned this before with GloVo, and you worked with some Fortune 500 companies and
Yeah. So with them, it's as I mentioned, like with you, they develop a corporate foundation. Like they already have a CSR department. CSR stands for Corporate Social Responsibility. So as a company, they were already, collaborating with different nonprofits and supporting the community and education and health and other goals. But they wanted to develop a foundation as well to have a more freedom. So my role is it's two things is how the company will remain an active part of the community, and the more the company grows, the community around us grows as well. So we give a part of the profits like to charitable causes that we really believe in, and we help them succeed as well.
definitely. So it seems to me that I was looking at your website and you're a fan of
Mhm.
literature and you're a fan of, I don't know, learning. And well, I think everybody likes learning and even poetry, it seemed to me that you liked. So how do you, I guess, approach learning? And, I don't know if you're into stoicism or altruism
Mhm.
or I don't know, what is your take on all that? And I guess your philosophy that.
My philosophy around learning. That's exciting. That's so. I've never thought about it. Let me
I know
think.
because I just started reading like autobiographies myself, and I'm trying to think, what do I want to learn? How do I want to learn? How do I apply it to my life?
So interesting about the autobiography. I think I'm a really big fan of habits and to what. Oh, still hear me, right?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yep.
Okay, let's say. And the one thing that taught me, about reading all those autobiographies, that they're not best case, but it's not like one recipe fit them all. Like you have the chance to see, for example, amazing entrepreneurs, waking up at 4 and 5 a.m. And then you see other, amazing historic personalities who were able, who were working at 10 p.m., 12, at midnight. So I think it's that seeing different things and have as many possible sources of motivation. As I said before, we're really close with the community of the volunteers, and we're learning from them. So it's the same. It's the same here. Like be able to see many different perspectives, like read many different things, and not only one theory, and that's it. because the same way that, when I was 19 and went to Taiwan and see a completely different culture than the one I grew up, I think the same things goes with learning as well. Be able to have like a diverse experience and diverse source of knowledge. So you don't just follow blindly one thing, but you're always able to compare and to realign and to be, flexible.
Well, I like that a lot, and it seems to me if I could, I don't know, synthesize what I've learned about you over this podcast or the conversation, but that is very important to always take from these opinions, to add them to yourself, to see what you like, and but to always, remain focused on your core mission. So I guess always like we're kind of at the half hour point, and I got to get to
Mhm,
work, I guess.
mhm,
I always like to the last question for the podcast to kind of be open ended to be looking towards the future. And it seems to me that with all these new things you're learning and new ways you're approaching the world, I guess where do you see yourself in the future? And it,
It's-
I feel a little bit of irony that I'm asking you this and not worrying about it myself, but
No, I love that. So in the future, I definitely want the chance to, to work further with you. I love your approach. I love your professionalism. I love how thorough you are. So one goal for the future is like in the next, I don't know, 3, 5, 10 years to be able like to work together, because what I have loved the most like of these, last 10, 15 years is like about, the people you meet and the things you create together. So Danny, I definitely hope this is not just a podcast and we'll have a chance to work together and see your own amazing and inspiring path, and maybe interview you the next time and listen to your story. But for me, I think my end goal will be, because now in the US, Philadelphia is amazing. Go Birds! I love it here. It's like to go back to Greece and implement some of the things I have learned here. So that can be about transformative volunteering and not just transactional volunteering, and how you can use this experience to develop pro-social behavioral and improve ourselves. It's a lot about nudge theory that I had the chance to work, and how people make decisions. It's like how to connect all those different learnings and continue having an active role in the society. I don't care if this will be again a founder and CEO title, or if it will be part of a team. I know that I want, to every day wake up and see how the things I have learned, like to put some use to them and not just give them as a knowledge in a notebook.
wow, that is pretty awesome. I like the first part that you
Hmm?
want to be working in. Yes, I would love to keep working with you, and I always enjoy meeting incredible people, and especially I would love to keep the partnership and work. So, wow, thank you for joining me today on the podcast. I guess I really enjoyed the conversation.
Likewise, wishing you all the best and can't wait to see who you're going to invite for the next week's recording.
Thank you.